Political prisoner from Zimbabwe. I'm a prominent lawyer and an opposition member of parliament before my incarceration on the 14th of June 2022. In my more than 3 decades of political career, I've been arrested 68 times.
The history of Zimbabwean politics can never be told enough if we do not remember the names of Hon Job Sikhala, Morgan Changirai, Isaac Matongo, and a whole host of people who have been working to ensure that there's a different voice, that ideas contest in our political terrain. And this journey has not been an easy one for these names and many more, including even the late Boy Edgar Tekere, who fought very hard to ensure that Zimbabwe does not become a one-party state. On this, the situation right now, we discuss the history and the path that has been taken to ensure that democracy in Zimbabwe remains alive to this day. Now, join me after this break on the situation right now. Welcome back to the situation right now. With me, host as usual, Dara B. Now, on this episode, we are going to look at the history, the path, and the movement, especially as we sit down with the lawyer, colleague, and a friend, Hon Job Sikhala, as he celebrates his birthday. I think it is momentous for us to be able to look at your history, the path that you have walked to this day. Happy birthday, Hon Sikhala.
Thank you very much, Dara. Welcome.
Yeah.
True, today is my birthday. It is my 52th birthday since I was born on the 30th of October 1972. The brief history of myself is that I was born in Masema. It's an area located in the eastern side of Kutu, where my parents own a small farming plot where they were doing their peasantry farming and so forth. I then went to Masema Primary School from grade 1 to grade 7. It is one of the schools which the late General Shinavashe Gawa attended. It is also a school that produced quite a number of many people. And from there, I then went to do my junior certificate education, that is Form 1 and Form 2, at an upper top secondary school, which was started soon after our independence in 1980, called Chiwara Secondary School. It is also located there in Kutu. After completing my Form 2 at that school, I then went to Masungunye Government Secondary School, which is located in Pikita. And then from there, I wanted to pursue to become, at that material time, I was a religious fanatic. I was a youth preacher at my Reformed church in Zimbabwe Church. So I wanted to to be a pastor. There was so much, love for preaching, and also the word was in me and in my heart. So after completing my O-levels at Masingonya Secondary School, I wanted to pursue to become a trained and ordained pastor for the Reformed Church in Zimbabwe. I went to Mare Theological College at Morgenster Mission, where I did exceptionally well in terms of the interviews that were conducted there. I had 86%. The only person who had a higher mark than me during the period was the late Reverend Chifoko. After having gone for those interviews, it was in 1992. I failed to be admitted on the basis that they wanted somebody married. But myself, I was a young boy at that material time. The issues of marriage was not even remotely in my mind. That's why I had to get married 8 years later in 2000 with my current wife. So they later said we can only admit people into pastoral work who are married. And having not been married, I was not admitted. So that's when then I opted to go for A-level studies. So I was taken by my uncle to go and stay with him in Kadoma, in Mashumevel in Kadoma. He went and found some place for me to do my A-levels at Jameson High School in Kadoma. But I didn't want to do the 2 years before. I had delayed myself to go to A-levels, waiting for me to be admitted to become a pastor. So I said, no, I can't take 2 years for me to do my A-levels. A lot of my time had been taken while I was waiting to become a pastor. Secondly, I also considered the financial position of my parents, and I saw it extremely difficult for them to be able to support me for the 2 years if I was going to take 2 years. So I said, no, I will try to give a shot when I'm in lower sixth for me to sit for my A-level examinations and see whether I will pass or not. So I read quite very hard, and I was pleased that after having sat for the A-level in 1994, I was able to pass for me to be able to go to the University of Zimbabwe. At that material time, I still remember that it was myself and one good fella and a very good friend of mine who is now late, called Stephen Maja, who managed to score points for us to be admitted at the University of Zimbabwe. So I only wrote A-level within the 8 months because we were still doing Cambridge. So I went there in January, started with others and read extremely hard. By October, we were sitting for my first paper in history. And I managed to score enough points for me to be admitted at the University of Zimbabwe. But then before waiting for me to start my studies at the University of Zimbabwe, I just like all of us during that material time, I went and sought a deployment in temporal teaching in Kutu. I was able to be admitted. I was able to find a job to teach at Makura Secondary School, where I was the Shona history and the geography teacher. And the bizarre part of it is that I was asked to take Form 1s in geography, a subject that was not an area of my liking. I never liked geography. although I passed it at O level at Masungunya Secondary School. So I taught in 1995 at Makura Secondary School, and then in 1996 I went to the University of Zimbabwe. After arriving at the University of Zimbabwe, I quickly get in good sync with other leaders whom I found there. Lenmo Jongwe, Tafazo Msekiwa, Daniel Molokela, Shelton Mpambga, and other student activists at the University of Zimbabwe in 1996. So, but already I had high political consciousness. For since when I was doing my O level at Masungunya Secondary School, there was one particular teacher who had a huge impact on my political consciousness, called Phineas Dambuza. Phineas Dambuza at that material time was studying at the University of Zimbabwe, and then he would come back at our school. That was in 1989, wearing a Zoom t-shirt, which had a white Zoom t-shirt which had three hands that were put together in the front and so forth. And during the period when he was teaching us, he would sprout some political orientation, and unbeknown to him, what he has been doing did a lot of impact to some of us on things that he has been telling us. He was also telling us about the 1989 University of Zimbabwe demonstrations that took place during that time, which were led by Enoch Chikweche, who is now Munyaradzi Kwisai and Atham Tambara's leadership. That later led to the temporal closure of the University of Zimbabwe at that time.
So at this particular time when they use it, what's happening to your love and desire for the gospel? What happens to your idealism?
The gospel of God. Initially, I arrived at the University of Zimbabwe still being an extremist, a religious enthusiast, where I become part and parcel of the Reformed Church in Zimbabwe youth leaders. We would dispatch ourselves to go to different mission schools owned by the Reformed Church in Zimbabwe. The Reformed Church in Zimbabwe is missions such as the Nyashano Mission, Pamshana Mission, Good High School, Chip High School, and others. So I continued initially being religiously active in a huge manner. I still remember that when we went for the outreach preaching program at Nyashano High School, some people still remember me for the great preach that I did. I used to preach and people crying in church. Because I knew there was something in me that would, move and speak to the spirits of people. I was a really, strong preacher of the word of God.
So what happened to you? Because now you're not.
The issue that happened is that you have to understand that there was conflicting issues in myself. I was also extremely political conscious and also strongly religiously fanatic. So I wanted my spirit to locate me where I belonged. And it did not take long that after having been admitted at the University of Zimbabwe in 1996, in